Well, hey, today, folks, we're going to talk a little bit more about flick putting and how this guy right here might help you out. Sound a little crazy? Well, it is. And let's face it, I'm compensating for some stuff today, but you're going to have to find out about it right after the intro. Okay, guys, so here's the deal. I forget that I'm 55 years old, and I play Ultimate Frisbee every Friday on my day off at lunchtime, and a group of us has been doing it for about 25 years. The problem is, I forget that I've got 25 years of mileage and age on this body, and I keep diving and falling and crashing while I'm out there, and I hurt myself. I almost gave myself a concussion a week and a half ago, and my body has fought back to that, where I have messed up my back because it took all that pressure and tension and just ran it down my back. I went working on some stuff for the course. I bent down and I almost couldn't get back up. So all my plans for what I was going to record on Labor Day, I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to film. I was getting ready to head out to the course when all that happened, and I have been pretty much laid up. So all those video plans are put on hold until my back stops really fighting me. It feels like this guy is just stabbing me in the back. But so I thought I would have to pivot and basically do something that I could do without causing a lot of pain. Let's face it. You older folks out there with me, you understand sometimes you've got to play around the pain, or you've got to give it a break. And so I don't recommend playing around the pain if it's going to cause more pain. This is a situation where I think I'm okay doing what I'm doing, but it's not the original. So I'm going to ask for some likes and some subscribes simply out of pity for this one, because this is probably not going to be my top game, because at the same time, I really only want to do a one-take video because it hurts even to sit in front of a computer and edit. So I'm going to do minimal editing on this. But hopefully you're going to get something out of this. Don't click off just yet, because this is something I wanted to talk about, and I've talked about it a little bit, but hopefully this is going to be helpful for you, especially when we talk about flick putting. Now, I want to do a full comprehensive kind of a deep dive with flick putting coming up, but this is more for folks that are out there that may be thinking about why flick putting or how I can get better at flick putting. This is just we're gonna put aside. I'm not gonna tell you everything about flick putting right now, but a couple things that might be able to help you, and especially in the area of practicing flick putting, and that's where this guy comes into play. Now, if you've got a course that you go to practice or whatever, that's great. But the practice basket that you may have access to may not have a tree near it. Now pretend that tree, that's the problem. Well, pretend that tree's not there. So here, magic of video, suddenly I don't have access to a tree near my basket. Okay, you with me? We're gonna suspend reality for a minute here. But one of the biggest reasons why I'm a big fan of flick putting, not necessarily even for your main putting, but is whenever you've got a course or a situation where you have to putt around something, it comes in so handy, because we get so used to being online and doing everything with our regular putt. As soon as we've got something in our way, we have to adjust everything and basically come up with a different kind of putt. Well, the great thing about a flick putt is it's the same putt whether I'm putting straight at the basket or I'm stepping around something and putting out here. It really doesn't change much, except for my arm goes out a little bit more or I step out a little bit more. So it's a great scramble putt shot. And so most of the time you're going to want this at a wooded course like I play at Inverness. Oftentimes there's a tree within circle one that you may have to putt around. But this is practice in case you can't get to one of those holes and practice like that. This is where this comes in handy. Now, it doesn't have to be this, but let's say you've got a basket in your backyard, but you don't have a tree, you just don't have access to it. Or if you want to get really crazy, go to the park and take one of these. People look at us crazy enough that we're playing with this out in the park, but take one of these out there with you. But so this is just to get you thinking. We got to be creative in our practicing. So what I'm using this for is an analog for if I don't have a tree or something to practice with, I can just simply, and I got to be careful about this, is I can take this and, let's see if I can do this. Okay, Now I've got something that I can use to practice around. So let me grab these discs very carefully. And now I can work on my flick putt around obstacles. I have brought an obstacle in that now it's not just as simple as this. I've got to put myself where I have to go around the object. And it's going to start getting me used to being comfortable with something in my way. Granted, I'm only, 12 feet away here. But what you want to start doing is you want to start practicing in uncomfortable situations. So we bring it a little bit farther back, and instead of me just doing here, maybe I really stretch out here and I get used to that motion, used to throwing, and also used to what I can achieve with my disc out here. Because remember, your eyes are here. I am almost 3 feet away from my disc, so my perspective is completely different. And you're going to start to realize that you have to kind of adjust a little bit when you start going around objects, but that's the very time you need to be very good at doing this. So this is a beautiful way to practice and really start working on honing that forehand shot when you're in trouble. Does that make sense? Let me grab these. So hopefully you're with me, you understand. Yeah, this makes sense. It doesn't have to be this. It could be a PVC pipe. Hopefully you have a tree. It could be a ladder. I think a ladders are great practicing tools to bring out and start trying to throw through the gaps, you can do all kinds of stuff with that. A PVC pipe and a ladder and you are good to go. But the whole thing that you're trying to do is you're trying to start to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Because then when you get into the chaos of the game, the flick putt doesn't feel like a last resort. It feels like, hey, I know how to do this. I'm comfortable. I can just sit out here and make that shot. And it feels like so much of an easy shot that I don't worry about it. Whereas if I had to, if I'm doing my regular putt and then I've got to get around and, I got to get down here and I've got to try to do all this, I start contorting my body. I'm making a shot that I've probably only practiced maybe 20 times in the course of my lifetime. Whereas here I can do that, and just in a little while I've put in 100 reps of doing that, and I've said, oh yeah, I know how to do that. It doesn't take a lot more to go from just regular putting to just putting an obstacle and putting around it. Then the other thing, this is called my make stuff up in the backyard today. That's going to be the theme for today. But then the other thing that I noticed that people talk about with a flick putt that they worry about, and even, giving some lessons with different people, and my buddy tends to want to, and I talked about this, arm the disc. And so what that means, I see a lot of people that will take the disc, if they're flick putting, but any kind of shot, but throwing it in. And then what will happen is the disc will catch the side. It's coming, you see how it's coming in hard, and it's coming in on angle. And so, or it's just blasting in there. And that's good sometimes. Let's face it, sometimes it feels really good to just, pow. Oh, okay, that one hurt. That didn't feel really good. But we need to learn not only how to hit the basket with the flick putt, but also how to attenuate how much power, how much speed. We got to be able to have finesse when we're doing the shot as well. I have some guys that are deadly, just cranking it at it. But then if things get a little bit off, they're cranking it 50 feet by it, or it's just blasting in there. There's sometimes you need to be able to run it without blasting it. So that's where the next thing comes in. Take out the papers and the trash. And it doesn't have to be this. Let's face it, y'all are creative and smart enough. You can figure out your own stuff. And this could be if you've got a basket in your yard, or you're going out to the park. Maybe you bring, your cart and use that. I've used my cart before to create this barrier. And so what this is gonna do, I wanna snug this up pretty close. And so then I'm gonna practice trying to drop it in, just float it over the top, almost like I'm gonna skip it right off the end of the trash can in there. And usually this is a little bit farther away, but I'm demonstrating this with the camera and everything, so we're not getting too far away. And to be honest, I could actually put something on this, make it a little higher, bring it back a little bit where I'm really having to drop over it. But what this is going to teach me to do, instead of trying to blast it in there, I'm trying to float it and spin it in there. And you've got to decide whether that's high enough or low enough that it's going to give you that right kind of feel. What I'm trying to say here is, let's face it, I use the trash can because I thought it was going to be funny. But I actually would prefer if this was here and then, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'd actually double thought myself. All right, instead of this, let's do this instead. No, that's not really going to help. All right. Can you tell I'm making this up on the fly? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to get some barriers between me and the basket so that I have to float the disc up a little nose up and let it drop into the basket instead of diving into the basket. So I'm spinning it. It's actually harder since I'm only about 12 feet away. It's easier a little bit farther away. But instead of arming it like I'm just trying to throw it right at it, I'm trying to go up over and drop it in. Does that help? If you've got a situation where you're struggling with a certain part of flick putting or any kind of putting, figure out a practice wherever that you can do to work on making that no longer a problem thing. And you'll be surprised. The thing that was the biggest problem, if you work on it, will become a strength of yours. So now we're going to take this out because it just looks like I didn't know what I was doing, and let's face it, most of the time that's true. But now, what I'm doing is I'm gonna take this back a little bit more, and I am going to, that's a good look right there, yeah, that's a good look. Actually, I can use this. What do you think? Should I edit any of this out or just let it run? This is high quality entertainment right here. These are the decisions I have to make when I'm doing this stuff. I'm gonna leave it in. Y'all have already turned up anyway, so it won't matter. But so here's, once again, the pitchfork comes in handy. I was gonna use a hoe, never mind, I'm gonna. But so here, if I just try to arm it, I'm gonna hit that pole. I'm gonna hit the obstacle. But what if I try to work on just going over the top of it? It's forcing me to go up and over. And it's going to teach me about touch, dropping it in. So then I've got two different styles of flick putting. If I need to get through a window and a gap, I can just burn it right at it. But if I need to give it a run, but not go too far by, I can then adjust. Instead of pow, I'm doing a little bit of this, and I'm spinning it like this. Does that make sense? So I have a couple PVCs and I have some photography tripods that I use a lot. But it doesn't have to be that. Figure out something that's going to work for you. And that's really kind of the thing I want you to do, is to realize that if you're struggling with, it doesn't have to just be flick putt, but if you're struggling with hitting gaps, well then go, if you can't find a place to practice where you hit that gap over and over again, make your gap up that you can do that. You're the one who's responsible for your game and putting in the work. And you can't use the excuse of, I don't have X, Y, or Z to do it. Now, you're going to have some physical limitations. You're going to have some other stuff that you're going to have to overcome, but that's part of the joy and the struggle of disc golf. It's learning how to be the best you with what you've got, and that includes how you practice. So guys, that's all I can say today. I am beat up, my back is killing me, but I can't use that as an excuse not to do something. I'm committed to trying to do 2 videos a week. And so I was hoping that my back would feel better. This is Wednesday afternoon, and I've got only a couple hours to edit this thing. And so I've got to do it, regardless of the fact that I'm hurting right now. And that's not to say, oh, look how good I am, but the things that are worth it are worth the struggle. And they're worth figuring out ways that you can do what you want to do. I want to do these videos. I want to be accountable to you to keep doing these videos. And I also want to be someone that keeps working on his game to the best of his ability, and I hope you do too. So there you go. I think I babbled on enough. This is, the hopefully something that's a little bit inspiring to you, but it's all pretty much just ad hoc that I came up with about an hour ago, and it's probably going to show in the amount of likes, comments, etc. But I'm going to take a hit on this one, and I'm okay with that. But for a few of you guys out there, there's going to be something in here that you're a little nugget that hopefully you're going to go, aha, and it's going to be encouraging. And that's all I can hope for. I can't reach everybody, but hopefully every once in a while I reach you, and it's encouraging for you, and I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, thank you so much, guys. If you lasted this long, hey, bravo, you stayed with me. You're obviously kind of messed up like I am, and I appreciate that. And most importantly, I do hope to see you out on the course. Take care, guys.